There is a difference between coaching children and coaching adults. Now, I coached kids a long time, and I did my time, and maybe you're doing yours. And I say that kind of jokingly because I really enjoyed coaching kids. And I know I was doing good work with them. I'm not saying that to brag. I think a lot of the young people who came up under my program turned out to be really great people. And some of them turned out to be really great judo, jiu-jitsu, and sambo people too. So, again, there's a difference between coaching adults and kids. Let's look at some of those differences. Let's start off by a quote Neil Adams said to me in 1993. I'm a big fan of Neil Adams. I think he's a great judo man and one of the great all-time coaches, certainly. And he said to me, "Judo is an adult activity that we allow children to do." Boy, that was profound. Because it's true. Judo is an adult activity. It's an adult for mature thinking people. So is sambo. So is jiu-jitsu. Any of the martial arts are, actually. But I'm going to focus this on judo because that's the primary thing we've taught at Welcome Mat for many years, and the other martial arts are part of it as well. Don't get me wrong. Our jiu-jitsu and sambo programs are of equal value, and other martial arts of equal value. But judo is what I started the program with, and that's what we're quite well known as. And it's also really fundamentally the basis of all modern martial activity. Kodokan Judo is the start, whether we do sambo or other people do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or whatever it is. They're all aspects of what Jigoro Kano started in 1882. So we'll kind of focus on judo as the primary tool, okay? So that is our groundwork, for ground zero to start with. So you can teach children with adults. Let me jump to adults really quickly. With adults, I can coach something, I can teach a move, and I can show different variations of that move at the same time I'm showing the base move, and they'll get it because they're adults. They have enough life experience, intellect at point, to understand, functional understanding that they can do this and then carry it on, and they can learn it quicker. Let's take Taiotoshi. I can show Taiotoshi in a couple of variations, or one variation, or grip change, this or that, while I'm teaching the basic Taiotoshi. The adults will pick it up, generally. It'll take time. They don't pick it up exactly 100% the right first time, maybe, and it takes a lot of time to practice that skill, to master it. But kids, as I've often said, you kind of teach by osmosis. So with kids, you'll introduce a technique, a skill, make it work for them, teach it functionally so that they'll understand it and comprehend it, and then drill on it, drill on it, drill on it, but don't do so in a dull way. Change it around. Many times, again, staying with Taiotoshi as an example, I showed Taiotoshi, and we did all kinds of variations, drills, and games to make Taiotoshi better. And I'd leave it for a while, come back to it, leave it for a while, come back to it, to where we kept working on Taiotoshi. Each time, I added something to it, so there'd be a little more those kids could understand about Taiotoshi and do it with better skill. Kind of teaching by osmosis. It just sinks in after a while. Okay? You don't tell them you're doing something different. You just do it. With adults, often you have to, and you should, tell them why they're doing it. And I do it with kids too. I'll tell them why they're doing it so they really understand what they're doing and they'll do it better. That's part of good coaching. But with adults, I think that's a definite thing you should do. With children, you can show them the move and they'll accept it because they trust you. You're an adult and they want to please you. So you're going to show them how to do Taiotoshi, again, as an example. With an adult, I'll tell them why Taiotoshi works, what context it works, more about it. They need that because it'll help them comprehend it better, it'll understand what I want them to do, and they'll do it better. So there's a phase of teaching children and adults in a separate way. So teaching children, to me, is far more difficult than teaching adults. And you may agree with that, because it takes a lot of patience to do some really basic stuff. And when I was coaching kids, my goal was to teach good, fundamental, skillful judo, in this case, judo, and we would continually add to it. And it was like layers of a layer cake. And it got to the frosting, and that was the best part. But you continually add layers. With children, and you do that with adults too, but with children you clearly have to do that. You'll start with a base, and you'll add another layer to it. You'll add another layer to it. It may take some time. You may have to stop a while and come back, like I said before. But keep doing that. And again, that's that teaching by osmosis or teaching by layers. Whatever phrase you want to use, it is teaching children. It takes a longer time. It's a longer learning curve for a child to learn a technical skill, because judo, sambo, jiu-jitsu, they're very technical skills. Okay, they're very technical, functional skills. You just can't pick them up. Some people, because of their natural athleticism, will pick them up quicker than others, but maybe not. Don't bank on it. So teach in layers, especially with children. Teach by osmosis, teach by layers, whatever it may be. With children, you got to drill train, you got to do a lot of games, but don't make the games or the drills, especially the games, the fun things, don't make them the big part of the practice where they just do that with no reason. The games have to be done for a reason. If you're doing a game or a drill, specific drill, whatever it may be, you're doing it for a specific reason, whether it's fitness, tactics, learning a skill, whatever it may be. You're doing that game or that drill for a reason. Okay? Sometimes I did games with the kids as a reward because they worked really hard that practice. I'll say, okay, kids, you did a great job. We'll play a game, one of their favorite games, whatever it may be on the mat. We play it as a reward. But they didn't expect to get it every practice. I've seen some coaches, they walk in, it's one game after another because that's the latest cool thing to do. You know, teaching judo by games. That was a fad for a while. It didn't work out so great for a lot of people because the kids weren't getting any skill acquisition. They weren't getting enough free training on randori. They were too busy playing games. Discipline was lacking because they were too busy playing games. So use the games, use the drills as you need them. I don't say sparingly, but as you need them. Because in some cases the games sparingly, the fun games, the kids where they can laugh and have fun and raise their voices, or the drills, you specifically make that drill work for what you want it to work for. There's skill drill, fitness drill, whatever it may be, tactical drill, situational drill. You want the kids to learn that. Again, use drills to layer, to teach by osmosis. It really does work. It really does work. You have to, and all this, it's obvious to say what I'm going to say here. You teach to the level of the group. Okay, I've got a bunch of 12 and under juniors on the mat. I'm not going to teach them, and some of them may be really good. I'm not going to teach them some type of very difficult leg lock or arm lock or some type of a move or even a throw or pin where it requires maybe a little too much maturity for that group. You know, make it appropriate to the group you're teaching. With children, again, we're using children. Don't have it over their heads. And by the same token, if you're teaching adults, don't teach something under their level of ability. Okay, if I've got a group of black belts on the mat, I'm not going to teach them how to do rolling break falls, or I'm not going to teach them how to do a very basic skill they may have learned a long time ago. Now, I may teach it as a base, and then we say, okay, here's the base, and we move on from there. Here, we'll go into some more difficult variations of that move, or applications of that move, but you teach the level of the ability of the people on the mat. We use remember judo guys and girls use your feet like boxers use a jab. We use our feet to set throws up. In addition to throwing people, we use it to set them up. So we got to have fast footwork. We got to have good footwork, sure footwork, okay? That's one reason we don't like to cross our feet when we do our drills and stuff like that. So that's why we want to have good, solid balance, okay? This drill is good for foot sweeps, all right? What is, Mark? Can I? And here's the deal. Okay, Mark and I are facing each other. Didn't grab your knee. And like this, okay? Now, my job, and we do this from time to time, but I want to tell you why we're doing it. I'm going to try to touch his foot, either foot, doesn't matter. And the idea, and he's not going to let me. Now, here's some rules. I can't grab him, and I can't rush him, and I can't hook him with my arms. I got to stay upright, and he can avoid. He doesn't want me to be able to stop him, be able to touch his foot. It's called the toe tap drill. You don't want me to tap his toe. And he can move away, but he can't turn his back to me, and he can't move directly back. Because I don't want him backing up and being real defensive, okay? But he can move around in different directions, but he can't turn around either. So Kyle, I'm going to have you come out here with Mark and grab each other. And watch, and one of you will be an attacker, one of you the defender, okay? And each of you will do it 30 seconds. Now, who's going to be the attacker? Okay, he's the attacker. The defender, you count how many times he taps your toe. And be honest about it, okay? Because some people cheat. We don't want that. Because he's going to be his turn next. All right, so Mark's job, and you can move all around different directions. Just as if it's a crowded mat, don't bump into other people. You don't want good mat safety. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, go. And what he'll be doing, he's going to keep tapping his toe for 30 seconds. Okay, that's it. Good. You got the idea. And after 30 seconds, then we switch the other guy's turn. Okay? Things we don't want to do. We don't want to be all bent over. We want to have good posture. And we don't want to really extend our feet. We don't want to do anything dumb we wouldn't do in a judo match. So you see the guys that were trying to get their foot sweeps in. You try to get it within your range of motion. You can't hook them. Just kind of toe tap them. Okay? So it's a good foot speed drill. We're going to do this, and we'll do some other warm-up games here in a second. So right now, so partner up, and that's what we're going to do. Are you set? Go. Go. Keep going. Five seconds. Keep going. 5 seconds. Lesson plans. You make your lesson plan. It has to be variable. Your lesson plan has to be flexible. And we have another video on lesson plans and objectives, class objectives and that type of thing. So when I walk on the mat into the dojo and I'm expecting to see a certain group, but maybe for whatever reason that certain group, only a few of them showed up or not many did, or if any did, and I've got a totally different group, then I will teach to that level and be prepared to teach to that level. So whether it be kids, adults, whatever it is we're talking about here. So teach the level that's appropriate to the group you're working with. Okay? All right. Especially with children. Now with adults we do it certainly, but with children we teach by progression. You start from A, you go to B, you go to C, you go to D, you move up down the alphabet. You don't skip one of the letters. You go to the next letter. Okay? You make sure you're precise and accurate in what you're teaching, especially those children, because those things are going to stay with them for life. Same with your adults. But adults, you may be able to skip one or two of the letters because they pick it up, they get it. They're adults. Children go from one step to the next. Don't deviate. Teach progressively. Teach one leads to the next thing. Sequentially, however you want to put it. But don't teach the latest, coolest move you saw on YouTube to a bunch of 7-year-olds or a bunch of adult novices that you saw some great champion from Europe or Japan pick his opponent up, body slam him, and do something else. Make it work for them. You may not even, they're not ready to get to that thing. They have to work up to that level. Remember, that champion you saw on YouTube, it probably took him years or her years to do that, to learn to do that skill that way. Like the great musician Miles Davis Jr. said, it takes somebody years to learn to play like himself. Think about that. It takes you years to learn to play like yourself. You don't automatically have this world-class skill. You have to start at some level, and you have to build on that level. And certainly when we're working with children, it takes a lot of patience to start at that basic level and work with them. Another thing with kids, you can't show favorites. Okay, you can't show favorites with adults. You shouldn't show favorites as a coach anyway. But definitely with kids. Kids pick up everything, and they see what you do, and they see what you say, they hear what you say, and they remember. And if you play favorites, you'll be remembered, and some won't like that. And they shouldn't, okay? You treat everybody equally. When you have to reprimand somebody, don't make it personal, especially with children. With adults, too. Everybody has feelings. Now, you know me, and I'm not real fuzzy on the feelings. I'm not real kumbaya on stuff. But as a coach, you have to be very aware of other people's feelings, especially children, okay? So make sure of that. Don't baby them, don't coddle them. Expect discipline, and demand discipline, actually. But at the same time, don't play favorites, and don't make it personal when you scold a child. When somebody does something bad, and kids do bad stuff, they do stupid stuff, correct it, tell them why, what you're doing, and then get on with it. Okay? Don't make it personal. I see a lot of coaches make it personal when they chew out an athlete. And that's just the way it is, and it's not right. It's not good to do. It's poor coaching. Okay. Again, with children, we need more discipline. Certainly with adults, but discipline is important. One of my old instructors many years ago said, "There is no learning without discipline," and it's absolutely true. With children, part of what you do as a coach is to teach them discipline. That's why parents enroll their child in your program. That's probably one of the reasons they're there, is to learn discipline from you. You're one of many people who can teach them discipline. Okay? And again, that's why we don't make it personal when we discipline a child. We just make sure they're disciplined. Okay? That discipline teaches them great value, teaches them the things that will impel them to be better people. Okay? If someone's undisciplined, has no discipline, he'll never amount to anything. He never will. And a lot of us who were undisciplined as kids and we had to learn discipline, were better off for it. That's probably all of us watching this. Certainly me saying it and you watching it. Somebody taught us discipline. It's not a natural instinct. Children need discipline. Okay? That doesn't mean beat the snot out of them, yell at them, scream at them, hit them with a stick. That means discipline them appropriately when necessary and without malice. Don't make it personal. But that discipline is necessary for them to achieve great things in their judo, sambo, jiu-jitsu careers, or as human beings. So you don't have that much of an issue with teaching adults discipline. Sometimes you do. I've had adults in my practices and my classes that, good Lord, nobody taught them discipline as a child, and they sure showed it as an adult. There's nothing worse than a spoiled, snotty adult, who is basically an adolescent at the age of 30, or whatever age he or she may be. Generally, those are the type of people who, don't stay with us anyway. And frankly, just as well they don't, because that type of attitude is infectious. That bad attitude it infects other people. So put a stop to it. But children need discipline. Okay, so that's one of the main things about the difference between coaching kids and adults is the discipline. So be patient. You have to show things a lot to kids. You have to teach in layers, like by osmosis, have good discipline. And remember also when working with kids, teaching kids, parents are very much in the picture too. Work with them, have them as part of the program, but don't let them tell you what to teach. You're the coach. Nobody elected you as the coach. I've said this before many times. You're the guy that probably bought the mat, cleaned the mat. You're probably the guy that cleans the toilets after everybody's gone, or whatever. You may not be. But you're the guy who started the program. You're the guy that shows up when nobody else does. And you're the coach. Nobody elected you that. So don't let a parent tell you how to coach his or her child. Okay? A lot of coaches get swayed by that. Okay? After a while, I learned not to let parents stay in the same room the kids were training in. Now, you may allow them to, and if you do, set definite rules. There are parameters the parents can do. The parent can't stand by the mat and coach his child. They just can't do that. you won't permit it. If they do, tell them to sit down. You're the coach. If he won't, then he'll probably pull the kid out of the program. Okay, I feel sorry for the kid, but I don't feel sorry for the adult. So there are problem parents, but there are a lot of great parents too. Get them on your side. I had a fellow many years ago said, he had a great program. He said, I don't really recruit the kids, I recruit the parents. And that's pretty much how he built his club. So when a parent does bring the child in for your training, recruit that parent, both parents as well. Get them involved. And if you have activities you need help in, and a booster club or whatever, have them part of it, recruit them. And the kids will be more involved as well. So there's some ideas, and I'm sure there are a lot of other ideas about coaching children as opposed to coaching adults. I just talked about a few of them. But again, as Neil Adams said many years ago, judo is an adult activity that we allow children to do. So you have to modify it and make it work for those kids, and we allow them to do it. So keep that in mind. I think you'll be a better coach for it.